Rolling around in PvP with the fire team, yep. Got my shotgun, got the hand cannon, not shooting heads. Doing what I can. That was Dead Man's Tale. Took it to the ground, underground, 6 feet. Now I gotta get back up again. Yeah. Moving to the Bravo with the fire team. It's a movie lotto. Take your ticket, take a seat. We seeing what's gonna happen. Bottom fragging, that sweaty game swagging. Yep. There it is, Cyn.
You want to count us down or not?
I am. I was trying to think of something witty right quick, but I couldn't. So we're going to start in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for returning onto episode 233 of the Guardian Hub podcast, where I don't know how to start it and Cyn doesn't know how to start it, but we are pushing forward. How are you doing tonight, Cyn?
Magical. And yourself.
Yeah, we don't need to redo this. You know, it's I like having a show where
we'll do it live.
Yeah, I mean, it is live. We have a live audience. We're live every week. We don't really edit anything unless there's some major problem like the bots, go out or something like that. But it's fun having this be a chill conversation each week. It works for us. It's how we can keep going, because if I had to put, or you had to put a lot of work into this podcast, we'd probably be done by now, right?
Most likely. It's fun. We just kind of doing it by the seat of our pants. If I was stressing about it with my hectic work schedule,
exactly,
I'd go crazy.
Yeah. So we do what works, but we're glad to be here this week, back together, reunited, and it feels so good.
Sing it.
Reunited, I know Cyn would. I don't know. What's next?
I don't even know. It's provocative. Nobody knows what it means.
Yeah. Well, a couple things I want to go over real quick. Actually, before that, it was going to be Destiny things, follow up from last week. But what have we been doing otherwise? Real life or gaming besides Destiny?
Other than my work schedule, I left work one night this week, just a little bit after 12 o'clock, say around 12:20 or so, and I didn't get home till 1:45 that night. That was awful. And then other than that, it is definitely gross. I've been playing a little bit of Cyberpunk. I finished the main campaign and was kind of confused on how the ending was and how it put me back, and still made me do the end campaign. But I really have been enjoying some Cyberpunk recently. And I've been hopping in on and off for Destiny. Haven't played it all this week, but I will be playing tonight, most likely during the podcast or a little bit after.
Ooh.
Rebel.
As for me, I've been doing a lot of stuff. It was my birthday last week, so out and about a bit. Obviously, I missed the podcast last week. Not too many interesting things. Did go to one restaurant, a really cool thing that's a restaurant normally you would see just in Vegas or Los Angeles or like a bigger city, but they brought this to our area where it's like really high-end dining, and they have fire dancers and one of those type of places too. They'll cook things at the table. You've probably seen like the little. It's not exactly the one where the guy throws the salt over his shoulder on the big tomahawk steak or whatever, but very but very similar to that, just a different type of restaurant. And it was really good. I got the sea bass. My parents paid for it, luckily, because the sea bass was $75.
Ooh.
Yeah,
it is expensive.
It is, and not everything's that expensive. They had other, but they said get what you want. I mean, my wife just got like the fish tacos that were like 25, so that was a bit more respectable, and that was even a better value price per how much you got. But probably just because this was like high end, wild caught, fresh sea bass, it was a bit more expensive. But I do like that a lot. One of my favorite type of fish, and yeah, good food. Went out with friends another night, just doing various things, and might go out next weekend to a small out-of-town trip, but that's still being planned right now. But yeah, that's just my real life. And then, yeah, I've been playing lots of Cyberpunk. I got the DLC, the Phantom, what's it called? Phantom
I don't
Liberty?
even know I think so, but I don't even know what the name of it is.
I play through it and I don't even remember it. It was really, really good. A great DLC that I feel like it had almost as much storyline as the main campaign. So well worth it. Opens up a new area of the map. Tons of side quests, bounties. The campaign's amazing. It has Idris Elba as the main character that you're working with, and then another character. She's lesser known, but really cool character there. And yeah, a lot of fun playing that. So I highly recommend it. And man, Cyberpunk's just so refreshing of a game that there's just so much to do. Go around and just explore areas that, we all were in awe when we first came into Destiny, and we see all these planets and the areas seem large, but like it makes Destiny seem small when you see how much there is in Cyberpunk, and vertically too. Like lots of buildings you can go up in, and skywalks and catwalks, and the Badlands area, and just so much area that can be explored in Cyberpunk.
Beautiful space. So back to your birthday real quick. Since you weren't here last week, Mr. Monkey did have a question about your birthday.
Yes.
Question for the show, specifically Kingsley. What's the best birthday present you have received, and what's your dream birthday cake?
I should have thought about this more. Best birthday present. Gosh. I don't even remember all. And I feel like the last few years, I've had more like experiences and stuff. And then I just get stuff for myself, or my wife does for me throughout the year. We don't really worry about doing it on birthday. But I feel like when I was younger, my parents, well, it was through money my grandparents helped save up, but kind of got me like a car. I think it was like for a birthday when I turned 18. So that was probably the best if I had to think of everything, because it's always nice having your first car that you don't have to put in any money towards. It's not like everyone can have that experience. So I was really lucky there.
Nice. Birthday cake?
Birthday cake. I always like these days German chocolate cake.
Ooh, delicious.
Yeah. Yep. I am not a huge cake fan in general. So if it's going to be cake, it has to be a good quality, like German chocolate cake. That's all I would really want. I would prefer other things for my birthday, like even pies, cookies, other pastries, but cake, But look at that. Laz has a picture of a cool cake in the chat. It looks pretty good. And it's Rodimus also. I mean, sure. I like that type of pies also. And blueberry pies also, not just that type. And anyways, we're not after dark right now.
Not yet at least.
Yeah. Oh man. So thanks for that question, Mr. Monkey. Was there another question we had, or is it going to be for Destiny? Oh, we have a couple when we get to Destiny talk for new questions, but thanks for saving that one. Sorry I didn't get to it yet, Mr. Monkey. I was just too busy doing shenanigans for my birthday. Destiny. So we have the end of season. You guys did a great job talking about it last week, but there's a couple things that I still hear as misinformation out there with other Discords, podcasts, and stuff like that. And unless I'm totally wrong, but there's a lot of speculation on the Xivu Wrath stuff, right? And when we were going to deal with her again. And I think a lot of people did not read the lore entry because it seemed pretty clear to me that we are not dealing with Xivu Wrath until after we deal with the witness. Did you catch that at all, Cyn? You probably, I don't know if you read the lore entry.
I did not read the lore entry, unfortunately.
Yeah. And this goes along with article that come out and people also talking about how the way this season ended was great, but it was kind of like, huh? And it was one of those things that they didn't do as good of a job this time of kind of letting us know everything in the final cutscene. Yeah, I get they're expensive to make, and maybe it was even purposeful. Maybe they wanted people to read more of the lore, but a lot of this super important stuff wasn't even in the audio logs. It was like literally you had to read the lore page to find this out. So anyways, you know, that once I read, it kind of made me sad. I'm like, oh man, Xivu Wrath just pushed off now. It's going to be sometime way after Final Shape. I mean, maybe not way after. Most people speculate, like Laz says in the live chat, it'll probably be the Heresy episode, you know, because that seems to be Hive based and it would make sense. We deal with Xivu Wrath then. But I don't think it's going to be this next season coming up because it's said for sure in the lore that we're not dealing with Xivu Wrath until after the witness. So there's that, people. Let me know if I'm totally off base. Yeah. And then, even though the weekly story pretty much ended last week as far as the main steps, getting the title, everything like that, there really was more this week. There was another card you could get, another lore entry, and a third Embaro engine. So I'll go over that now because it sounds like I was talking to you before the show and you haven't done any of that yet, Cyn?
I have not. I haven't even finished my title. The only thing holding me back from the title grind at this point is the vendor reset.
Gotcha. I mean, I would almost say let's do it live in the podcast, but it would take a little long. But I'll just walk through. I'll tell people the steps right now because it's a little less obvious if you don't look up like an article or a YouTube video or listen to us explain it to you. So what you do, that last lore card was a minor one, the lower right-hand corner. And people already knew last week this is how you were going to get it, but it wasn't available until this week. Basically, you go into the altars and you go to that one that's up the hill a little bit where they have that hive statue in the back that was holding a void crystal, you know, in its hand. You know which altar I'm talking about? Well, the last card is right there. You can even just go into altars, and it's kind of a shit show right now because people we're just loading in, running to get that, and then leaving because you don't have to complete an altars. So you just run up to that spot. You have to actually jump up high to the top of the little dish or bowl or whatever the statue's holding, and the card is right there. You grab that last card, and then that card allows you to do the third Embaro engine encounter. So with that, you go in like before, you go up to the second level, and then you go up one more. There's a new third level. There's a new door you can open, go up one more level. And then this one, I won't spoil everything because I can say what basically happens without spoiling it because some of the later ones are really hard to notice. You're going to miss things. I'll just give hints like you got to change your perspective. But basically what you're doing is when you go into this arena.
Oh, I ended up watching the video on this. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, so don't spoil like the harder ones, but we can tell basically what to do because anyone can figure this part out easily. You go through the door, you look behind you, and there's either going to be like I forget the order, but I think it's like Arc is on the left, Void is on top, and Solar's on the right. But you look at the door you come through, you look behind you, and there will either be an Arc, a Void, or a Solar lit up. Well, you look at that color and you look at where it is. Like if the arc is to the left and it's lit up, then you look ahead at all the doors and then you shoot the arc that's to the left. There's only going to be one that matches each time. Then that door opens and you go through that door. And then you rinse and repeat. Every time you go through the door, it brings you through the door you were just at. You look behind you. You see where the next color and where it is in reference to the door and you shoot it. But by the time you get to the third, fourth, fifth one, I forget how many there are, it gets very complicated because you're like, wait, none of these are matching up. But that's where you just need to change your perspective. So, and then eventually you finish that, and you also get an Ascendant Shard. And then you also get another lore piece, which we will go to in a second because Rodimus really likes this one. So he was telling us about it before the chat, or in the chat. And you also get a emblem. You couldn't get the emblem until this week. I'm wearing it right now, Cyn, if you want to inspect me.
I'm
Doesn't really look
definitely
like
going to do that.
too many people have it on.
Well, I do like that.
Yeah. So if you go to the, it's really interesting because last week was the title. This week was the emblem, if you're keeping up on everything. And there's still yet one more lore thing. So it's really interesting. Oh, and one more secret too. So it's really interesting. I love it how they space things out because it's kept us coming back week after week. Well, at least people like me for a little bit on Tuesday Reset. I don't know how much, it's not like we're back that much, but at least it's something to come back to a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I need to jump in more anyway because I want to finish off the master challenges for the raid and start that process. And that'll be a grind. But I haven't been really pushing the issue and trying to get that done though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't this time around either. I've been kind of slowing down on raiding. I like Crotas again a lot still. I did one master challenge which one did I do? I think I did the first week one, or I don't know. I felt like maybe actually I just joined a group for something else. Maybe it wasn't master, but maybe I'll get around to it, maybe not. But I did get the catalyst done. Because I told you a couple weeks ago I got lucky. I got that RNG where you get the unlock with all the it just gives you how many oversouls that you need to get the weapon and the catalyst. So then all you have to do is go back in, do the raid, and then do the extra credit part in the raid for the catalyst to unlock.
I have done that. I have unlocked the catalyst, but I do not have enough the oversouls to get it done.
Oh, well, I mean unlock, like I don't know what the right word, but to do the final masterwork, you have to go back in the raid again and do an extra credit thing in the raid.
Yeah, with the you have to stand on the plates and do the thing with the swords and the Hive Knights.
Yep,
that progresses the step, but you still need the oversouls regardless to complete it. So the oversouls are technically the final step.
No, they're not. The final step was doing this. I already had the oversouls, and then I had to do this too. It's fully masterworked for me now.
So my part
you
of the
have
step
it backwards. Yeah.
Well, I've done the steps, and it unlocked the next part of it. So I still have the quest, so I could tell you.
Oh, so maybe you can unlock it either way, and then once you get the oversouls, then you won't have to do it again. I gotcha. Maybe.
Yeah, because maybe there's nothing on here.
Well, anyways, I needed to do that. You definitely can get the oversouls ahead of time, and then I guess 3 people were also at that point and didn't realize, and so 3 of us got it fully masterworked when we did that extra credit thing in the raid.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was kind of fun. I mean, in the bridge encounter and in the final room, you just stand on this plate, someone who has the gun, and then some knights come out, and you have to run back and forth and kill them. Not too hard, actually. It was kind of cool, but kind of silly in a way. It really wasn't too hard.
No,
it is timed, but like, come on, like as long as people aren't dying, and we got it the first time in the bridge room, and then only second time in the other room. That was only because we didn't go into like 3 groups of 2, just kind of one sword person, one buddy to back them up. But once we did that, it was easy.
Yeah, that last room was a little chaotic. We had a couple deaths that push people past the room, and they couldn't make it back. And basically, we had to start it, have them rejoin so they could be in that room.
Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. I want to talk about one other topic that a lot of people have been talking about lately, and then we'll go into the news. And then, of course, next week is starting Festival of the Lost.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, one thing that people have been talking about a lot is weapon stuff, right? And there's kind of two parts to this discussion, but I feel like they all relate together. Crafting weapons, and if people still like that, or how many weapons should be craftable, and then how many weapons we have in general in the game. Like, do we just have so many weapons it's weapon fatigue? I'm not talking about exotics per se, but even that I feel like we have too many. But every season we get more and more weapons, and like maybe one or two of them are good, but we have so many other weapons that are pretty much just as good. Do we really need this many weapons? There's always something new around the corner, but really nothing that we necessarily need as compared to a lot of the older stuff.
No.
How do you feel about it?
I actually went through, I didn't delete a lot, but I probably deleted probably about 20 or so odd weapons from my vault. Just stuff that was not brought up to light, stuff that I've been using, pulling on and off based on recommendations for damage phases and such. I went through and deleted and cleared up some of my vault space just because there is a lot of weapons there. I could say I don't use 95% of them. I have.
No one does. No one does. Even if you like to collect them all, no one can say that they use all the weapons that much. No, just no one has time. Like with how many weapons there are. Yeah.
I mean, if you need a good sniper, you maybe keep one sniper for each slot, and you find a good roll. But really, I was thinking about it when I started deleting it. I don't even really need all the old previous rolls with the crafting system now, because if I need something good, I just find out which one to get and then craft it. You upgrade it, get your perks, and move on.
Yeah, but not all weapons can be craftable. So, I mean, I agree. It kind of brings it into both parts of the discussion. Are you saying that as long as you have some good craftable weapons, that's good enough, even if there's an RNG weapon, an RNG only weapon that you want, and you can't get good rolls on that? Do you then just not care and just do the craftable one?
Yeah, like I was playing around with the whole surrounded sword thing during Crota one night. I switched some swords around. I don't have the DSC one unlocked, which is the one everybody's go to. But I had the Bequest, and it had the Surrounded perk on it, and I tried that out, and it seemed to hold its own. But I didn't have any like natural rolls for the Surrounded perk on that sword from DSC that I could go back to my vault and just pick out. I ended up getting one, and I ended up keeping them, and whether they were good rolls or not, because I never used them. And basically, my vault is full of random rolls that aren't necessarily the greatest, that are just sitting there. So,
yeah. And then let's say, just for sake of argument, because different people play the game different ways, but Destiny did start as a true RNG game for the weapon drops. I mean, there was a few things you could do. There were quests, mostly like the exotics and a couple legendaries here and there, but pretty much, before we had weapon crafting, all your loot was RNG drops, whether we're talking the general loot pool and strikes or whatnot, or raid weapons or whatever, everything was RNG drops. And then we added weapon crafting, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but let's say, regardless of how much time you have, I think we can get to that discussion in a second, but time aside, would you be more motivated if you had the time either way to keep playing the game if you're not getting an RNG weapon that you want? You're like, dang it, I want that. So you keep playing over and over to get it. Or would you play the game less because you could craft the weapon that you want? Which way do you think you'd play the game more?
I mean, in my current state of
again, not how much time you have. Just
right.
I'm saying, like, yeah, like if you could have unlimited time, but
I mean, yeah, I probably would play more to grind out something that I'd want. Obviously, that is, I mean, that's a thing, right? You just grind out until you get it. I mean, I did that with raid weapons, just going in, getting my clears every week to get raid weapons, and with the crafting system, it does make it nicer, and I don't have to focus on that. I can focus on other things. So I could agree that having craftable weapons to get what you want in the game without having to grind does reduce the time need to be spent in the game.
It definitely does. And that can be a good thing for reasons, right? But it takes away from what a true RNG game is. It is true that it's probably good that people can craft things that they want spending less time. Now, no one can argue the crafting system's gotten easier and easier over time. Remember, it used to be a lot more grinding.
Oh, yeah.
Now you hardly have to do anything to craft weapons, especially the seasonal ones. They drop like candy, and you get the borders pretty quickly, and then you just level them up some, and then there you have it. You can even purchase level up upgrades if you have enough resources and stuff. So no one can argue that takes a lot of time compared to at least if weapons were RNG only. But think about it this way, like regardless of people's time, RNG games were there for a reason to get people coming back to keep playing. If Bungie, if Destiny wanted people to keep coming back more, wouldn't it make sense to have more RNG drops and less craftable drops? Kind of get people going for that chase, keep coming back, et cetera, et cetera. In other words, I've heard some people say without saying, well, I have everything I need craftable, so I don't have anything I'm chasing anymore.
Pretty much. I think more RNG stuff would bring more people back, especially if whatever it is that RNG is RNG based is good. If you find like some of these raid weapons that come out that aren't great necessarily when you get them, and you just get them, you try them out for a couple times and put them away, the RNG for that, I would think in most people's eyes, would probably be like the having to go in there and grind it. What I'm trying to say would not be necessary because most people would not want it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you had an RNG drop for something that's really good, that would be worth it.
Yeah, and let's just say, for sake of argument, too, that weapon crafting wasn't here. For the people that don't have a lot of time and want to use that argument, all games that are RNG-type games, you'll be able to get a drop back to this discussion of there's so many weapons and something that's good enough. You'll be able to have something that's good enough, even if you can't put a lot of time into the game, right? The RNG drops are just like those super awesome drops. Like, oh, I've grinded this a lot, and I got the God roll. It's 5 to 25% better than the good enough, version of it. But it's not like RNG games. They would not get people to come back at all if they gave you like only crappy. I mean, there are crappy rolls also, but most people that don't even have a lot of time can still get a good enough roll at least. And then when you have more time, you grind for the God roll.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. It's just kind of my thoughts on discussions that have been had all over. I'm not saying that weapon crafting shouldn't be in the game, but I do feel like, and Joe was saying this on a stream today too, that they are definitely looking at, they don't want to have too many weapons craftable. And if you look at, again, history of a true RNG game, it's about the drops. I like being able to craft weapons, but I just worry like we're missing potential, things of wanting to come back with so many things being craftable. And I hope maybe there's less craftable things going forward. Laz also said in the chat that as far as vault space, Joe Blackburn was saying in today's stream that he has 200 empty vault spaces, and he even said that's unkempt for him. Yeah, same for me. I don't see the point of keeping a lot of stuff around because there's 20 legendary weapons that are good enough. Now, I have more than that in my vault, but if I ever started getting too full, like half or more, I'm just going to delete them and not feel bad about it, because it's not like people that use this argument, it just never really happens except for maybe 5% of the time in PvP. But in PvE, there's always going to be some good enough weapons that people can get. And if generally people can't get it, then it's just not even talked about, right? When we're going into raids, and let's say there's some god roll of like some weird funnel web 1.0 thing that you can't get anymore or whatever. It's like, or no, sorry, Recluse. That's the one you can't get anymore. We're not going to be saying we'll get Recluse because people can't anyways. So what's the point, right? The things we're going to be talking about that's good enough are the things that are attainable either in exotic or in legendary that's current enough that you can get through some means, even if it's RNG. But the ones that are like really old that are kind of deprecated. Oh, and by the way, we've had this discussion before. Shout out to Des, who's not here tonight. Again, I would have been okay with weapons sunsetting. Trying to remember, what was your thought on that, Cyn, when we talked about it way back?
I mean, I can't remember what it was when it happened, right? Because that's been now 3 years, maybe 4. I don't know. It seems so long ago. But in today's sandbox, with the amount of weapons we have, sunsetting would be okay.
It would have been okay even back then, but maybe it was a year too early. People bitched and moaned. I mean, I do have to admit, it seemed like the majority, unfortunately. So Bungie kind of did the right thing for switching it back, but they could have held their ground and let it go for about a year and a half to see how it goes, because you're not really going to see the full aspect of it until you do it for long enough, because you don't. Yeah, they weren't sunsetting weapons that were new. They were sunsetting weapons that had been out for at least a year anyways. And so you need to go a year in this new pattern to see how it works out, to make sure, oh yeah, well, we don't care if it was a weapon from a year ago that was sunset because there's a new weapon we like better anyways. Who cares about the old weapon?
Exactly.
And again, you could still technically use it in older content. It just it couldn't level up. And you could use all weapons in PvP because, power doesn't matter there.
Correct.
Well, was it in all PvP in trial? I forget what it was. Maybe trials was different, of course, because of power mattering or whatever. But generally, PvP did not matter.
Right. So I misspoke. I kept saying bequest. Bequest was the Last Wish sword. It was Caretaker that I had crafted.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that because I was looking at Dim as we were talking about it.
Yeah.
And Kato says in the chat, with the sunset weapons, it was Trials and Banner.
Did you just say Bequest was from Last Wish?
Is it?
Then
Is that the sword I'm thinking? Bequest is the one I don't have. Which sword is the one from Last Wish?
There isn't a sword from Last Wish.
Okay. There you go. Then I'm just wrong. Thank you.
You are.
Thanks for joining us.
Kato just came in shirtless and like a wrecking ball and said, Cyn's wrong. Put it on record.
Yeah. You should do that.
we can go to collections right now and look.
It's DSC.
DSC.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. I think I might have said DSC originally, but for some reason I said Last Wish there.
No, I don't think you said DSC at all. But...
I don't know. I don't remember. That's how burned out I am.
Yeah, and I just don't even care. I felt like that was wrong too, but thanks for clarifying that.
Couldn't help myself. Couldn't.
Right. Well, now that you're here, you have to tell us your thoughts in general. Do we have too many weapons? Do you like crafting? And would you be okay with sunsetting? I know, big topics.
Yes and no. I am perfectly fine with sunsetting of weapons. It needs to happen. We have too many. Like anymore, if it's craftable, I don't even farm for a roll. I just farm for patterns, and then I don't ever use it because we have so many other things.
No, I use 1 or 2 craftable weapons, like my commemoration. I love, and a couple other things. But I do probably use more RNG weapons, craftable weapons myself.
I think
certain weapons that aren't craftable, like adept weapons from Nightfalls, those are not craftable, and some of those are actually really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them now at this point, you can craft. So you can craft something very, very similar that'll do, as you said earlier. They work. just well enough. They don't need
Just well enough. Yep.
Right.
it's not going to make enough of a difference in any content to matter.
Yeah. So again, if you use the logic, you can get a good enough weapon from crafting. You can also get good enough weapons from RNG, because even if you don't play the game a lot, you'll get a good enough weapon. So they could remove crafting, and then for the whales that have more time to play, they could spend more time in the game for the god rolls instead of crafting and spending less time. What do you think, Rodimus?
I have a question. Why does it matter?
It's for getting people to come back to the game. That could be why, because like RNG games, they want people to play more and more and more. And if weapons are only RNG, then it'll get people to come back more for the god rolls.
But who does it affect the most? Does it affect the casual player, or does it deal with like the 1%?
I think saying 1% is a little extreme. I would say probably 25%. And then the casual players, I just gave the argument that I think they would be good enough either way with crafting, or if there wasn't crafting, they would get a good enough weapon quickly, even through the RNG system.
So how many crafted weapons are in the meta for PvP currently?
I don't know.
PvP?
Yes.
Crafted weapons.
Correct. Can we say less than 3?
It's probably more than that, honestly.
Okay. I don't PvP, so I don't know the answer.
What?
Yeah, I don't PvP much either.
It changes every season, though, because you're going to have at least 3 in, like, the kinetic slot, or, your primary slot, and then you're going to have probably just as many, if not more, in the energy slot.
Yeah, mainly and I'm definitely one of the players that, and I don't consider myself a 1%, but I'm not saying this just to say it. There's multiple reasons why I don't play the game as much, but I would play the game more if there was more weapons that were RNG based only. I'd even be raiding more. I'd even be, doing strikes
I can
more.
Agree. Honestly, I can't agree, because I feel like there's too many weapons now. There's too much saturation of it.
I disagree. That's where I disagree. I think there's not enough, because you have so many people, and you have all these streamers online and says, "Oh my God, you have to go get that Rufus's Fury," right? Mm-hmm. So everyone's running for that gun. Completely, just no one cares about any other auto rifle because they have to have that gun. I think there's not enough out there for the general consumption of players, and people need to learn to find something that you like, that you're good with, right? There's always going to be the meta, yes, but I don't think that we should be like, oh, weapon crafting ruined the game. I think it's great for the game personally, because I use a lot of craft weapons because I feel comfortable using them.
Mm-hmm.
So put it in perspective, Rodimus, I have all three of my weapon slots right now, my Titan, are crafted weapons. I have Deliverance, I have Callus Mini Tool, and I have a Retrofit. And my Callus and my Deliverance, weapon level 204 on my Callus, which was done naturally with no upgrades. And then my Deliverance, also done naturally, because this was before the new upgrade thing. I have that at 188. So I use those a lot. And for me, they work well.
So I can't open Destiny because I'm having computer issues all of a sudden, but I just did the meta for the season for PvP kinetic weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So Rufus's Fury is craftable, but you have to raid RNG for red borders and get spoils. So it's not a gun that's given to you. Correct? So, would you agree with that?
Oh, of course, yeah. And some craftable weapons are a little harder to get than others, but crafting is definitely going to take less time in general if you average everything out compared to RNG only weapons.
Well, something you got to remember too is that raid is now farmable, so you're going to be seeing it more, because you can farm the encounters over and over and over again.
True, but you still have to have spoils to buy the weapon at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
You can't just
no.
farm the red borders. Your red border drops are minimum. I still feel they're less than 10% drop rate.
I don't think they're that bad. But either way, the other reason you're seeing it is because it's new. It's Strand. It's the only.
Okay.
Actually, it is the only Strand auto rifle.
Yeah.
Other than an exotic.
So here's the top 5 for meta weapons in PvP. Rufus's Fury is craftable, correct?
Yes.
Kept Confidence. I'm assuming that's the hand cannon for this season.
Strand. Yep, Strand hand cannon.
Traxipose.
Strand.
But it's not craftable.
Nope, but it was very, very farmable.
Yep, Necrochasm. Alice, which is craftable. So we'll say 3 out of the 5 are craftable for PvP.
And that's just in the kinetic slot.
That's just in the kinetic, yes. Energy, you got the Iclos SMG.
Craftable.
Come to Pass.
Craftable.
Actually, no. SMG is craftable. Come to Pass is craftable.
Yes, I thought.
Iclos Hand Cannon craftable. Tarnished Metal craftable. And Le Monarch not craftable.
So all craftable in one exotic. Got it.
Yeah.
But a lot of those, like, you had to farm the crap out of the Akilos. It took you a long time to get those. So it's not like they were given to you in craftable. And those are all were leveled before the change in weapon crafting.
Yeah. Yeah. And since there's a set, like other people would like to say, a set pattern for getting it, that's obviously why in PvP those are very meta, because people are going to go for the path of least resistance. Not that there's no work getting those, but it's like a guaranteed setup. There's a path.
Yeah, there's no RNG. Some streamer out there has already given you the exact god roll to craft.
I've done that too. I mean, Commemoration's my favorite machine gun, and I had a really good god roll quote at the time, RNG of it. But once they put new perks in and then made it craftable, I'm like, oh, I crafted it. It's one of the few.
Those are the weapons I use. I'm sorry. Hold on, let me retype this.
Wait, but seriously though, how much when they made DSC weapons craftable? How much did you run DSC?
None. It's very few and far between. I don't have any crafted DSC weapons.
I don't know that I ran it for that reason. I think it was kind of like a secondary reason. Some people were. I ran it with people, and then Commemoration, just because I heard there was some new rolls on it. Again, since it was easier to craft than RNG, that's why I did craft Commemoration.
They did updated rolls on it.
I have my Reconstruction Repulsor Brace that I like.
I don't even have that one unlocked yet either.
And it's level weapon.
Me I need to raid more.
125 for me.
See, I didn't. There was one weapon I wanted out of DSC when they brought in the crafting part of it and the new perk pools. And I wanted the posterity. I already had the role I wanted, but I wanted it for some of the other roles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying it's. I don't know.
Crafting doesn't ruin the game, but it does cause some people. I want to know what the percentage is, but some people to play less, and I am one of them. And the point was made that I crafted this, and it was quicker and easier for me. I played less DSC then. Now, that's a little bit unfair because I'll raid anyways, just to help people out, but I wasn't. I would have gone for Commemoration.
Well, how many crafted weapons have you made, and how many are roughly max level, if you had to guess?
Like 5 or so.
Oh, I have way more than that.
I would say I have more than that as well, because there was a time where I was crafting them and then upgrading them just to burn through materials. And I mean, it's probably 10 to 12.
But do we think the RNG will determine whether you will play more because you're just chasing that role, or
yeah, for sure, 1000%. Not for everyone.
Want that weapon to have that weapon.
So
both reasons.
a simple. I mean, honestly, the way I look at it is some of the Nightfall weapons this season, the new bow and Warden's Law. Like, I farmed both of those to get the roll I wanted.
And again, those aren't craftable, right? Because they're in
those are not craftable, correct? And
so you can give that example because and you have motivation to keep going in.
Yes, because I never did get I have it now, but at the time when I was farming it, it was just I didn't need the materials out of it. I didn't need Ascendant Shards or Enhancement Prisms or anything like that. I was strictly in there and doing it for the weapon. Vaulted Glass weapons, Fatebringer, Templar farm. We farmed it so much, and I did multiple times because I still don't have that one roll that I want. Am I going to do it every time it comes around? No, but it kind of validates the point of crafting is great, but there's just some weapons that if you want them bad enough, you're going to chase them no matter what.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But the weapons that are either way, I'm not mad that there's crafting, but I would play more if there was not crafting for those weapons. I'm not just saying that. I would.
I could kind of agree, honestly, because it's like I said earlier, if the weapon is craftable, I'm not going to grind for a roll that I want of it because it's craftable. I get enough patterns, and there it is. We're done. Moving on.
And the perk is a little bit better too when you have that masterwork perk on the what's the name of it? If you
enhance them.
The enhanced perks, yes.
Yeah, it is better, but it's such a small percentage better that not.
Well, most of your crafted weapons are tied to RNG, and they're tied to end game content. If you purely think about it, though, they're tied to raids, they're tied to dungeons.
Well, you only have to get the weapon once, though.
No.
But hold on, let me finish my statement.
Well, you're wrong in that statement. But
I'm not done with my statement.
Okay.
You also get it from the new season content, right?
Yeah, sure.
So you can't go back to the war table and get your red borders as easily as you did when you had the season that was out.
Actually,
you still get them, but your drop rate is not as good.
Well, you don't get the one guaranteed each week, is all it amounts to.
Correct. So it's still RNG based. You still have to grind for your glimmer or your shard, not shards so much anymore, but you still have to grind for the materials to get a chance to roll that weapon and the engram.
Yeah,
so they're
know all that.
They're not handed to you.
We know all that. We didn't say it was handed, but it's still way less work overall if you take the averages than getting a God roll RNG drop. I don't think anyone can dispute that point, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. It feels like there's so many variables on the RNG side versus, obviously, yes, you get a little bit of RNG getting the red borders, but with the harmonizers that you have now in the game, and they are supposed to be dropping more and more red borders anyway, it makes it much easier to get the red border and the pattern unlocked and to go in and enhance it, craft the weapon and enhance it to the perfect role for you.
See, I think we're not trying to argue how easy or hard it is getting craftable weapons, but more just craftable weapons in general versus RNG. And craftable weapons used to be harder to get. I mean, there was more work. Now it's less work in general. Why? Probably because people were complaining. And then I wonder, it's like, is it going to be even getting easier and easier as time goes on? I don't know.
I hope not.
I think it's in a good place, to be honest with you.
It's in a good place for what it is. And I do use crafting, and there was one weapon I even bought upgrades for recently. What was it? Maybe it was Bequest or something. You can unlock the things now.
So the only, as Rodimus said, you get craftable weapons from seasonal content and raids. That's it.
Dungeons. You get them from dungeons too.
No, you do not.
You don't get them from dungeons? Okay, I thought you did.
Nope. But and Dares of Eternity, because all those are craftable.
That drop rate's horrible, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I agree on that one. That one is kind of bad. But as good as some of those are, it's kind of understandable.
Yeah.
And that's definitely one of those. Those weapons have a pretty, like, I don't want to say a real small, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
What is the word you're looking for?
I don't know. I want to say ability, but it's not ability. What's the perk pool? There we go. They have kind of a smaller perk pool, so it's not as bad. And pretty much whatever weapon you get from it is going to be serviceable until you get it crafted. But at the same time, we keep getting new weapons every season that kind of just takes place of all those other things. So unless you really like that gun, like for me, I pretty much move on to different weapon sets every season.
What I want that'll keep me playing is not huge new sets of weapons, but like 1 or 2 or 3 really good weapons, RNG only, like for Strike playlist, right? That would keep me coming back playing Strikes again. RNG only, good rolls, good weapons. And then, yeah, it may be forever, but I'm just going to grind Strikes forever. And
Well, were you grinding Strikes before weapon crafting? Or did you give up on Strikes at that point still?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'd already given up. I mean, yeah, because there wasn't really too much reason to. The exploration aspect was long gone, and no weapon stuff that I really cared about. But that would get me to come back,
anyways.
Yeah. Yep. Even Gambit put some really cool weapons there. But saying all this, I have to be fair. Also, maybe there is some. It would have to be something quite extraordinary, or else I may just either way, craftable or RNG. I may not play that much because, back to the other point, I already have stuff that's good enough.
Yeah.
And then we get back to the next part of the discussion that a lot of people have been saying. Les says he has a theory, but a lot of people had this theory, Les. No, shout out to you for sure, though. But he saw a theory on regarding weapon sunsetting. You know, what'll happen if the culmination at the end of the, witness final shape thing, the raid, and then it wipes out part of the universe, including our vaults or weapons or something. Who knows how this could all play out, but what if Bungie introduces some form of sunsetting after final shape? Do we think that's a possibility? Would we be happy with that? What do we think? More and more people are thinking and hoping that'll be a thing. So it kind of shows, like, not everyone I know, Rodimus, but like a lot of people are kind of okay if they were to wipe out a lot of weapons and start over.
Wouldn't care less. Start over. I mean, I'm the way I play the game and enjoy the game is I'm always trying the new weapon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the hand cannon or the bow, the shotgun. I have my go-to weapons I enjoy playing with because I feel the most comfortable with them when I'm doing raids or when I'm doing dungeons and know what I can do with those weapons. Will I try and get all the new seasonal weapons? Yes. Will I try and craft them? Yes. I currently have 60 crafted weapons that I've made. Do I use them all? No. I use probably 5.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have the other rolls from the drops from dungeons or whatever, Nightfalls, that I say, hey, this looks interesting, I'm going to keep it for later. But in reality, even if it wasn't weapon crafting, are you using the same, we'll say 5 guns in your PvE content?
So I have some input on this, unfortunately. This is just an opinion. Most of your end-game content, like raids, are going to push you to use the same weapons in damn near every raid.
Plus or minus, but yeah, you're generally right on that.
For the most part, yeah.
Because they all require certain things. You can use whatever you want for ad clear. That's what it is. But when it comes to damage, you're going to pretty much running, used to be linears, now it's machine guns or take your pick, I guess. I don't know. Like now we have a little more option when it comes to heavy for raids. But and a fusion rifle or a shotgun, depending on the raid and or encounter. Or maybe a sniper. It again depends on the raid and the encounter. So it's kind of pushing you to use the same things. Even GMs are kind of the same way. Because we have 2 exotic weapons that are really good for a certain thing, and that's Wishender and Arbalest. It's some of the best anti-barrier when you're done. And we have other intrinsic weapons that are, or other intrinsic champion weapons that are really good. But for the most part, you're always going to be running Wishender or Arbalest in a GM if there's barriers. So it's the rest of the content. It's what do you want to run? And all the new craftable weapons don't really mean as much because it doesn't matter in the content. If that makes sense.
And of course the other RNG weapons too. Just all weapons in general. What if, regardless if they erase weapons after final shape in the raid, what if in the raid itself they did some wacko thing where we couldn't use all our normal weapons? There was just like some subset of things we could use.
I'd be fine with that.
It would be very interesting. I'd be fine with it too. I don't know if it would ultimately be boring in the long run, but it would surely be unique. We're hopping in the raid and we're like, oh shit, like they did some power over us and we can't use any of our weapons except for like everyone just has like this, and this. Everyone does in the raid. And it's like, well, we just have to figure it out with what we got.
So here I got a kind of a follow-up question for all this. So next season, let's say they introduce no new weapons, would you be okay with it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say for me, I mean, I don't know. I would maybe want a new weapon or two, but I'd want it to be good. I like that better than like 5 new weapons and only one of them are good, if that, like how this season was. So I would.
But what,
I think I would prefer
that
a weapon.
That one could be like a hand cannon. Would you be okay with that?
Sure.
So I don't like hand cannons personally, so I would not.
Oh, I see what you're saying for that.
I wouldn't do that one, right? So I think they're going to be tied one way or another. They either appease the people who want less guns, they get appease people who want more guns. But in reality, I think you should give more out there for options for people to play how they want to play. You don't have to craft the weapons, and I don't think the crafted weapons are ruining the game, because people are still going to go chase their roles that they want for their god roles, or they want to chase that weapon, or they want those adept weapons, right? Those adept weapons will always be the top tiered weapons in the game, regardless if they're first the crafted or an adept weapon. Everyone's going to pick an adept weapon over top of it, and the only way you get your adept weapons is trials and grandmasters and master content, right?
Yeah.
So if you have that casual
only
player,
master raids, though.
only master raids, not regular raids. But if you have that player who's going to be chasing those things anyways, they're not going to care. They're not going to care about the crafted weapons. If you have a new player coming in, they have so many options. They can try things new, or they can try and get to this weapon. And I really like this weapon. I'm going to go craft it. Or I'm going to like this weapon. I can go craft it. I think that they're trying to appease a broader group of people, and I think that I'm going to say 5% of players in like the end game PvE content are still going to chase their god roll adept weapons or their weapons in their end game content, regardless if crafting increases or doesn't increase.
Yeah, respectable. Here's what I thinking about this more, and you asked the question. I have a better answer now. Now I don't think there shouldn't be a good amount of base set weapons. I mean, call it the world loot pool, things you get just in strikes or whatever. But once you have a good amount there, I don't feel like we need 5 to 10 new weapons each season. What I would want is actually one new weapon, but only the one type, like you said, even if it's only a hand cannon or even if it's only a shotgun, because for me, even if it's a weapon type I don't love, it would get me to try that. there's so much over choice now. I can't land on something. And even if it's like, oh, I don't like shotguns, but it's the new weapon, so I'm going to try it. Maybe I'll start to like it. Who knows?
So, kind of tagging onto that, what is classified as world loot pool weapons, right? They've released some really good weapons that there's no way to farm. They are just straight RNG, like you want, and they're actually really good.
Well, see, maybe I haven't kept up to date with that, because then that's good news for me then. I've been complaining this whole time, but that could be something I'll look forward to coming up.
This
season,
what
was this a couple weeks ago where they were announcing what was going to be like it wasn't the gunsmith stuff, right? It was something else, or
no, it was. That's gunsmith focusing. Where I don't know how well that's going to work out. But I mean, it'll be nice for people that don't have those guns, because it gives you a better way to acquire some of those guns that are actually pretty good. But like some of the new like world drop guns that are actually pretty good, like the Psy Hermetic. It's a stasis pulse rifle. It's actually really good. The Battle Scars kinetic pulse rifle. It's actually really good. Rolls with kinetic tremors, and that's last season was really nice. But
just hearing these weapons, I don't even really know or care. But if you're telling me they're good, I guess I'll start carrying.
Well, and it depends on the content you're doing too, because it's still one of those that they're good. You have to hopefully maybe get one of them, but there's other things that perform just as well. I think the saturation problem comes into we're getting new season weapons plus old returning weapons at the same time, like these last couple of seasons. And I think.
But why?
Go ahead.
Why are we getting those old returning weapons?
Because the older players were complaining that they wanted them back.
Because they were what?
It's nostalgia.
They were sunsetted?
I don't know if they all were they.
Actually,
okay, I'm not keeping track. Okay, these were all sunset ones. I mean, I'm not seeing stuff in there like Recluse, but they're
that's
are
a ritual weapon.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like all the Gambit weapons that came back last season from Season of the Deep, all those Gambit weapons you could focus. This season, we have all the Red War weapons you could focus. Like, that's a lot of weapons that they're not craftable, and you're just spending engrams to focus.
And you have to get engrams how?
Anything.
You got to grind for your engrams.
You can do anything in the game to get engrams.
So the RNG element's still there, and the grinding's still there to get said loot. Is it as hard as it once was? Probably not, right? But
these weapons are basically purchasable, not craftable. That's what it sounds like. But yeah, you got to have the stuff to purchase them with, of course. Yeah.
So you still have the grinding aspect to get those weapons. You still have the RNG to get the drops, because you're not guaranteed an engram every time.
No, it's like what the lowest drop rate was, like 20% or something, depending on what it was. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's complete RNG on. Well, I guess no, it's not, because I mean it's RNG on the roll you're going to get, but there's nothing you can focus directly on the weapon you want. So like, some of the Red War and Nightfall weapons, like what's that, Nameless Midnight? You can directly focus that.
All right, well that system's fine, because whatever, it's like you pick the weapon you want, but you don't get the god roll that you want. You have to just keep getting the weapon over and over until you do. It's just slightly different than older traditional RNG, where you just need that weapon to drop at the end of an encounter of something. So that could be interesting to me, because to me, again, for me, Rodimus anyways, the bigger grind is going to be on the back end of that, sure, I could purchase a weapon, but there's so many perk pools. Who knows? There's the RNG of that actually dropping once you focus the weapon. So that'll be the RNG element there that I will like.
Yeah, there's some of the weapons that are really you're still grinding for it. Damn it.
And RNG because of the back end of it. Yeah.
Yep. And some of them don't necessarily have large perk pools, but at the same time, if you want something very specific, you're probably going to spend a lot of engrams to get it.
Probably, yeah. And then so then you're going back into strikes just to get more engrams.
Like I know last season I didn't really run a lot of the seasonal activity, but I ran quite a bit of it just in general. And then even then I still didn't get, or I did get the weapon I wanted, but I ended up not liking it. Like there's a few of them. It's like you spend all those engrams, you finally get the role that you want or a role that you're going to try out, and it still just sucks.
Oh, of course, that can happen. But there's weapons we already have. They're good enough.
Yeah. Well, and this is like just talking in circles because it kind of boils down to the same thing. Like some of those other slots of weapons that taken, it was the pulse rifle from last season. That was the Gambit pulse rifle. I don't remember what it was called, but it's solar pulse rifle. You could get incandescent on it. Well, why grind for that role when we already have a craftable solar pulse rifle that does the same thing?
Yeah. Well, this leads great to, but still talking over this. Okay. When we talked about it a few weeks ago, these weapons, I don't know out of that list what I want yet. There's just so much. It's overwhelming. That's good or whatever. But I like the system, hearing how it works, talking about it more. So it's really, really glad we were talking about this more.
The Banshee thing? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And it goes along with Festival of the Lost. It's going to have, looks like a very similar system. And what's more, this year they're adding legend haunted lost sectors. That has me intrigued.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So basically what it looks like, back to the chance. So like lost sectors have a chance to drop an eerie engram. That's what they're calling these engrams. And we can do hocus focusing. God. Anyways, okay. Probably the regular lost sectors will have like the 20% chance, like this other thing we were talking about. And then the legend lost sectors will probably have like a, what was it? Like was it 60% chance, or was that the master was 60 or 80?
Master was 60.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe like 40% chance, which is basically, 50%. So close enough. So we need, but I'll be running the legend ones because I do actually like legend lost sectors. I just haven't had much of a reason to go in and do them.
No.
But hey, I'll be hopping back in Destiny a little bit more on, spooky season time. Get some of these eerie engrams, and then we'll have the hocus focusing where they kind of give an example of things. But let's say you're going for the weapons. Basically, it is 1 eerie engram, of course, and then 1,000 candy. Obviously, candy is probably not going to be an issue. That drops all the time from just doing stuff. But once we have an engram, it says specific Festival of the Lost weapon focusing. So like what you were saying, we could pick what weapon we want, and then obviously it'll probably just be an RNG-based rolls on it. So I'm down.
Yeah, I mean,
and of course you can do armor too, but
I mean that's similar how the Solstice event was. I mean, turn in medals, get weapons. Woo.
Oh, you can also go for a randomized weapon for only 500 candy, but still 1 engram. Or if you want a specific weapon, then it's 1,000 candy and 1 engram. Kind of glad and surprised they didn't do 1 engram versus 2 engrams. So it's really just the candy cost versus the engram cost.
Part of that focusing, I'm sorry to backtrack, it just came to mind. So in this season,
yeah.
What do you guys truly think about in the seasonal tree, those deep sight harmonizers? Do you think they're ruining the crafting or to get the weapons faster, or do you think they're in a good place? You only get, I think, 5 per season.
You get 6.
6.
But I think you only get 2 on the free track. I think maybe it's 3 and 3.
You don't get one until 47 in the paid track. You don't get one in the free track till 57.
I don't think they're ruining just the discussion of weapon focusing. No. I don't know. I don't have too much of an opinion on it.
I think it's a big help.
You think it's a big help?
Yeah.
So you've used it.
You still have to use, I think, spoils to use them.
If it's a raid weapon, yes.
Yes.
So if you're using it to craft raid weapons, you have to have the spoils to do it, and I think it's 15-ish spoils, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and of course you don't have to use them at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, where weapon crafting is, and since it's already easier than its original iteration, this specific part doesn't plus or minus much in the equation to me. I think it's actually probably a slightly positive plus because it helps in one way, but you have to do work in another way. You still have to get it in the season pass bar. Like you said, it's not going to be like on level 2. Well, so you still have to,
You also still have to get the weapon.
Yeah, at least once, and then yeah. So.
But you can only focus a weapon one time with a harmonizer, and then you have to get the weapon again.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, you're still putting the work. That's why I don't really see him as a problem. Because you still have to grind for, the rest of it. But it's kind of nice.
If it's a seasonal weapon, you can just purchase it, right?
But
Does that count? Yeah.
So if it's a seasonal weapon, you can focus that specific
weapon. A lot easier.
One and harmonize.
And then harmonize it. And then, yeah. And then, of course, if you have the harmonizers, if you've unlocked enough on the season pass bar. Yeah, I see that as like maybe a slightly positive plus. I don't know how many people are using it, or I haven't used it much, but I don't see it as a negative at all.
I have been using it for nothing but raid weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, that's mainly because I don't have anything else to use it on. Like, I'm still missing a few of the seasonal weapons, but I'm still doing the seasonal content. I'm sure I'll get them eventually. So, whereas the raid weapons, since I really only run one character, that means I have essentially 4 encounters plus 2 secret chests to maybe get the red border weapons, and with the low drop rate that. So, that's what I'm using them for.
That's fair.
All right. So the weapons that we're going to have is in the haunted event is the heavy, a cosmic grenade launcher, the primary horror story auto, the energy Jurassic Green pulse, and the energy macabre sniper rifle. So I don't know.
So we're getting a new grenade launcher.
That's the main thing I'm gonna, yeah.
Really pushing grenade launchers all of a sudden, it seems like.
Yeah.
So here's something I consider to be the problem with. I don't want to circle back to it, but it's like the problem with crafting and grinding. Some of the weapons you're going to grind for that are adept are just better because there's nothing in that slot that fits. Like, kinetic hand cannons. We have one craftable kinetic hand cannon. We have a few craftable 140 hand cannons, but both are from raids. So, oops. Whereas grenade launchers, we have quite a few that are really good. that have some great perk pulls, so it's really hard to want to go farm for a grenade launcher. And then for anybody that raids, and that's what you mainly do, what are you using your grenade launcher for?
I definitely don't use a grenade launcher.
Right. I like grenade launchers, but
for your
but not for raiding so much. But unless it's ad clearing, there are some
general content. You're not, any grenade launcher will be fine.
Yeah. And for raid, if you're not doing DPS stuff, it can be great too, especially if you have ad clearing properties like chain reaction or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
They're fun. They're just fun. I wouldn't say they're like my favorite by any means, but I like them maybe a little more than some people. And then they also talked about, we were kind of wondering, during the crafting,
that's that what we're
if you logged in at all during that point, we will all get an emblem.
Really?
Yes. And it's an interesting looking emblem. It has like a question mark on the left side. And then the rest of it, it's like this patchwork quilt pattern looking thing of a bunch of just different weapons and stuff put together.
Oh, so it's the table at the Enclave.
Yeah. And
nice.
You just have to have logged in sometime between September 15th, Friday, and September 21st, the Thursday after that. And then they'll be giving us that emblem.
Kind of cool. I know some people didn't play that season or that weekend. Season.
It almost felt like a season,
imagine?
Right?
Like,
I didn't play much. I'm trying to think, but hopefully I logged in at least once. Not that I care about this emblem that much, but it'd be nice to have.
They say how they're rewarding it. Is it through the terminal or?
Let's see.
It'll probably just show up at Rahul, or I guess not Rahul anymore. But yeah,
because the new terminal thing. Yeah.
I mean, I can honestly say I did two things that weekend. I farmed GMs and I farmed Templar.
It's not in the terminal. It wasn't at Rahul for me, so I logged in.
It's not available yet, I don't think.
Oh.
Let's see. Because this says this is a thought it said this is a sneak preview. They're not really clear though, because up higher. But yeah, go on. Continue saying you only did a couple things, Kato.
Much.
Yeah.
We did some goofy stuff in some raids. I farmed GMs and I farmed Templar. I think I ended up with 20 some Fatebringers from Templar. It is a little absurd.
That's a little much.
Well, when they only take 2 minutes to do, you know what?
You might as well.
Which realistically isn't that much faster than doing it legit, because you're still cheesing it no matter what.
Okay, so for those that are shouting in the podcast right now, it's the emblems. We're not getting it till next season. I guess they're still working on it. It'll go live when season 23 starts.
So what's the point?
I sometimes feel like they can never get things out that quick, and I don't know if it's just how they're a bigger company now, so they have to approve it, go through all these approval, chains or departments, and then by the time they get the approval, then the coding people say, well, we can't add it in too quickly in case it breaks something, so maybe that's why we have to wait that many weeks to get it. Yeah. And then anything else on the TWID? I don't think there was anything too much else.
I didn't read it.
Yeah. Cyn, you've been a little quiet. Anything else?
Changes to sparrows.
Wait,
yeah, whatever. All the sparrows will be the same speed now. They already announced that a while back. They're kind of just reminding us, I guess.
Are they actually going to fix the always in time?
Yes.
Always
on
time?
Yep.
Well, everything will be on time.
Everything will be on time. I thought they had talked about that already in the past.
I thought, yeah, you're right. They did.
I think they're just reminding us or telling us it's actually ready for beginning of season 23. Yeah. Not next week, but again, season 23. So we have what, like this was week 7. So
another
46 days.
Yeah, about 5 weeks. So a little over a month. It'll go fast.
Yeah.
Still playing Cyberpunk. The new season of Diablo comes out in a week. I mean, I have it paid for, so I'll probably hop in a little bit. And then I'm looking forward to Festival of the Lost, at least a little bit. Yeah.
I don't know about that, but...
Hey, at least a little bit. More so than some other seasonal activities. And when I say a little bit, I'll probably hop in on reset, play for a few hours, and then grind, and then be like, okay.
I have to agree. I really like Festival of the Lost over the other seasonal we did.
Mm-hmm.
I find it a little bit more challenging than the other seasonal stuff.
I mean, it can get very
chaotic.
Well, chaotic, but it can also be very monotonous to do.
Oh, well, here's the thing. Are the legendary Lost Sectors going to be match made?
Probably.
Anything legendary match made?
Well,
not really. There was one thing once, but I think it was just it was like a term, like a wording issue. Usually, legendary stuff's not match made, but the only reason why I wonder is because the whole, Haunted Lost Sectors idea were these match made things. So unless they're going back to not how it was, just regular running through Lost Sectors, how it was a while ago. It's been a couple years now, but remember when they first did it, you went through them. It wasn't like in a group, right, where we were just like collecting stuff and shooting stuff. It was just more completing them. So I'm really interested. I kind of would be okay if we're doing the same bullshit as last year, and if it's a legendary harder one, I would kind of want them to be match made, just because it can be a pain. If you just want to play at an off time where your friends aren't playing, it would be nice for them to be match made.
Well, that'd be one more thing to try and group up for.
Yeah. And Monkey and I will die on this hill that I feel like most legend stuff, I mean, forget Master, Grandmaster, whatever, raids, but legend stuff can pretty much be match made. People will figure it out most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. But then again, been running some nightfalls to get the seasonal stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I don't know. There's been a few of those runs on because this week is the moon. But I don't know that I would want to do that on a match-made legend difficulty.
It would even happen on strikes sometimes, though. That's the thing. And to me, also, I know it sounds weird or like I like punishment, but the matchmake element kind of brings in some excitement to me, because if you're a team that's really good one time, you're like, oh, this is fun and chill. If you're a team that's not doing good, then you have to pull more of your weight. So it kind of varies it. I kind of actually like it.
I could see that, but at the same time.
Yeah, but if you're trying to get it done, and then if you're with a team that isn't so great.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I hate to say it, but you could potentially get a bunch of people, or you could get groups of people where it's all they want is that carry, so they're not going to try.
But Cyn's going to be in the corner multitasking?
Pretty much.
Live update, Cyn. What are you doing right now?
I am sitting here staring at orbit.
Well, aren't you lame?
Woo!
All right. Do you need to do that one thing real quick afterwards? Do you have time?
Yeah, here in a minute. I can.
All right.
I'll do it.
start hopping into altars and pick up that card if you want. But
oh shit, I should do that.
yeah, we can all do it if you want.
Yeah, I'm currently in there trying to figure it out without watching any videos yet.
Yeah.
You know what I did earlier?
Yeah.
I did Master Crota.
Finished it? Did you get the title?
No, I still do the first encounter triumph.
That's the hard one, though, right?
Featherlight, yeah.
How was Master Crota?
Couldn't tell you. We cheesed it.
Okay.
I have done Master Crota, and it's rough. It's you have to do it way different than how we've been doing it. You have to really slow down,
But not too much that you run out of time.
Yeah.
That's always the trade-off there.
It's definitely. I'm actually kind of surprised and kind of impressed with how difficult it is. Like, you have to really pay attention to what's going on. You have to time out your the spawns, but you don't want to leave stuff up too long, and
Yeah.
everything hurts.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's cool to hear. I'll get a try one of these days.
Yeah.
We better close up this episode. Thank you so much for joining, Rodimus. I really appreciate the thoughts. Kato, for joining to correct Cyn. And of course, Cyn.
That's what I'm here for.
Yep. That's what we are all here for. Yep. Rodimus, you were in the Discord as
Problemos.
Yes. At least in the Guardian Hub Discord. Kato, how are you in the Discord? You're just Kato right now, I believe. Yeah. There we go.
Oh, if you fail, if you're on 3 out of 4, you fail, you go back to 0. How fun.
All right. Cyn, anything you want to add at the end?
Nope. You can find me in the Discord.
Yes, you can.
What,
And you
no
can find me in the
Sky,
Discord.
No Twitter, no nothing.
All the places.
Dude, I have not been doing Twitter. Have you been doing Twitter at all, Cyn?
No. I get an alert every now and again, and then I take a peek at it, and then I turn it off.
Isn't it X now?
X, yeah.
Whatever.
XXX.
X going to give it to you.
All right. Well, this Discord, if you are not in it that we are talking about, you can join our Discord. You should, just see what we're talking about. Say hi. You don't have to talk. You can just lurk if you want. But you can find the link to join our Discord, information about joining our clan if you want, all the deets about our show through our lovely website. Our website is www.theguardianhub.com.
The best hub on the net.
I like how I added the www this time. Dub. Unnecessary. You don't need the dubs if you don't want them.
But like you saying DDoS.
All right. HTTP or HTTPS://
Is it a backslash or a forward slash?
Or yeah, right. I don't even remember. Or like phone numbers, area codes 1 ...
Yeah.
Don't forget the 1. Although you don't need
Back
it. Back in my day, we needed the 1.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in again once again this week. Hey, we really appreciate you all. We will catch you again next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Later.
Peace.